All right, guys, welcome back into the channel. It's finally time to break down this Week 2 victory for the Green Bay Packers. Another impressive one over the Washington Commanders, 27-18, putting the Green Bay Packers pretty much at the top of the entire NFC right now, with a couple other teams. If you're wondering where I've been or why it took so long to put out some content in regards to this game, I was away for the weekend. So everyone coming into the channel days after the game, I really appreciate you guys stopping by and still supporting the channel, giving comments, likes, and all of that. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. So let's dive down into this game. Just got done watching it all the way through for a second time. So I've all my notes, offense, defense, and all that from this game. And man, it's been a fun 2 weeks for the Green Bay Packers. Winning both of these games, when you looked at this schedule, it looked like the Packers, could end up 0-2 to start this season, but they have absolutely flipped that script. 2-0 against two of the better NFC teams to start the season. Just a super impressive start for the Green Bay Packers. So before we dive in, I wanted to go over my sleeper picks from this past game because this pick slip actually hit. And big shout out to Sleeper. Go download the app. The link's down in the description. You can make your picks for the upcoming games here in week 3. Use code BASS when making a first-time deposit. Get that matched 100%, which goes up to $100. And looking at my picks from this game, I had a half a sack or more for Micah Parsons. He had a half a sack in this game. I had Josh Jacobs an anytime touchdown, which he had in this game. I think it's now 11 straight or 12 straight touchdowns for Josh Jacobs, which is awesome. I had a free pick for Jordan Love, more than a half a passing yards. Of course, that hit. They offer a lot of free picks for primetime games. And then I had less than 22.5 receiving yards for Noah Brown, the Packers' defensive backfield, especially Keyshawn Nixon, which we'll talk about. Absolutely locked down in this game. Those picks hit. If you want to make your picks for the upcoming games, go do so. Download Sleeper. Use code BASS when making a deposit. All right, so let's dive down into this game. And first I'll say this. This Packers defense is so phenomenal. And right now, it's the best defense in the NFL. And yes, I'm a Packers fan, and I definitely have bias towards this. But when you take a look at the first 2 weeks of the season and the teams that the Green Bay Packers win against and how those teams did in 2024, both Washington and Detroit in 2024 averaged 30 points per game the entire season. And through the first 2 weeks playing both of those teams, both of them combined for only 31 points total. This defense has been absolutely on fire. And man, this is just such a special unit. It's such a special team here in 2025. Just to kind of furthermore drive my point, the Washington Commanders had drives starting at their own 45, 43, the Green Bay 44, and also the 50-yard line. In all 4 of those possessions, they only totaled 7 total points. This Packers defense has been on fire. Everyone kept talking about how this Packers run defense was going to struggle mightily after trading away Kenny Clark, which is actually surprising to me because the Packers run defense last year was good because of TJ Slayton. Kenny Clark wasn't even playing nose tackle. He hasn't in years for the Green Bay Packers. So that was a little bit of a shock to me to keep hearing that narrative and the fact that they went and traded for Micah Parsons and somehow that made their run defense worse. Then we go against Detroit week 1, absolutely shut down their run game. And then here in week 2, do even better against the Commanders' run game, which, yes, it's not as good as the Detroit run game, in my opinion, but you also have someone like Jayden Daniels who can be very dangerous on the ground. Krosky Merritt, 4 attempts, 17 yards. Austin Eckler, 8 attempts, 17 yards. Jayden Daniels, 7 attempts, 17 yards. The team as a whole, 19 attempts, 51 yards, 2.7 average. I was super impressed with how the Packers contained Jayden Daniels. That was a big worry heading into this game. In years past, the Packers go against a mobile quarterback, and it seems like they just tear up the defense. But the Packers did a great job staying in zone coverage, which is what they've been doing with Jeff Hafley because they can get so much pressure, keep your eyes on the quarterback, flow to the football, and they did an excellent job here in this game against Jayden Daniels and contained him. 7 carries for 17 yards is an absolute win versus Jayden Daniels. Then when you take a look at the passing game, the passing defense, Daniels finished 24-42, a low completion percentage, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, one of which in in garbage time, similarly to Jared Goff last week. And the Packers got home 4 times on Jayden Daniels, sacked him that 4 times. He had a passer rating of 85.4. Like I said, just an absolutely great performance by this Packers defense. The leading receiver for the Commanders was a tight end, just like last week. Laporta was the leading receiver. Zach Ertz, 6 for 64. If the Packers are going to go week in, week out, and the tight end on the opposing team is going to be the leading receiver at like 60 yards, you can live by that, especially with how well the defense is playing, on the boundary, rushing the quarterback, stopping the run game. At some point, someone's going to gain yards on the other offense, and it just happens 2 weeks in a row that it is a tight end. I'm not worried about it at all with how well the rest of the defense is playing. They pretty much also shut down Terry McLaurin, all things considered. 5 receptions, 48 yards. Debo had 7 receptions, 44 yards, and a touchdown. A lot of that came in garbage time. Luke McCaffrey was their 4th leading receiver, 1 catch, 19 yards, and then the rest all under 10 yards. Some players that really, really impressed me in week 2 and overall have just been impressing me a ton through the first 2 weeks of the season. Of course, Micah Parsons, and we'll talk about him in a second, but some other players. Devontae Wyatt, now a full-time starter at that 3 tech position, has seemingly taken that next step to be the guy at 3 tech for the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, Kenny Clark, was that guy for a very, very long time, even played some nose tackle for us. But man, Devontae Wyatt has taken a massive step up, and he has been a force these past 2 weeks. And it also is because you bring in a guy like Micah Parsons, and it just offers so many more opportunities for these other defensive linemen. Devontae Wyatt finished the game with 7 pressures, a sack, 5 quarterback hurries, and a stop. He's been phenomenal through the first 2 weeks. I also thought LVN was good yet again in this game. He had a few stops against the run. He had 2 stops in this game, also a pressure and a hit. I really like how they're utilizing Lucas Van Ness, from keeping him outside to kicking him inside. He's getting a lot of 1v1 opportunities and seemingly just like Devontae Wyatt taking that next step. Another player that really, really impressed me in this game was Javon Bullard. I feel like he's been very, very good around the line of scrimmage, flying around, attacking the football, getting in on tackles. They used him a lot to help contain Jayden Daniels in this game, and I thought he did a very, very good job. Javon Bullard had 4 total stops, and stop is classified as, a negative or a no gain for the offense. Javon Bullard had 4 of those. Now, he did have 2 missed tackles, but I really liked what I've seen from Javon Bullard here in year 2, and he almost exclusively played in the slot this entire game. They kept him around the line of scrimmage, helping against the run, help contain Jayden Daniels. I really, really liked seeing that. Of course, we got to talk about what is my player of the day on defense. It's Keyshawn Nixon. A lot of people worry about Keyshawn Nixon going into this season. They worried about him. Hey, is he going to be able to be that cornerback number 1? We already saw it last year. I mean, Jair Alexander didn't play much last year. Nixon pretty much was cornerback 1 for most of the season. And I kept saying it was his most impressive season as a Green Bay Packer, and he's much better at boundary cornerback than he is nickel. People still like to hate on Keyshawn Nixon, use him as a scapegoat anytime anything goes wrong, but I've really liked what I've seen from him through the first 2 weeks. Even week 1 against the Lions, 4 catches allowed. You'll live by that against the Lions, but man, he was absolutely lights out in this game. Nixon was targeted 5 times, allowed 0 receptions, had 4 pass breakups, and a quarterback rating allowed of 39.6. He was playing aggressive, getting hands on wide receivers, and perfectly timing punch-outs when the ball did come his way. What an awesome game for Keyshawn Nixon. I hope this continues as the season moves on, because if Nixon is truly that number 1 guy on this defense, which, again, a lot of this stems from the addition of Micah Parsons and being able to pressure the quarterback so much, it makes the cornerback's job that much easier, and that's showing true for Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine, who also had a really good day. Valentine allowed 1 catch on 4 targets for 7 yards and also only allowed a 39.6 passer rating allowed. And then, of course, like I said, got to talk about Micah Parsons. I figured he would end up getting more snaps than he saw in week one, which he did. Parsons saw 47 snaps in this game, still only 56.6% of snaps. He had 8 total pressures in this game, the half a sack, like we mentioned before, 2 quarterback hits, 5 hurries, 2 assisted tackles, and a stop. Micah Parsons has played in less than 60% of snaps for this defense, yet he leads the entire NFL in pressures. The amount of impact that Micah Parsons already through 2 weeks against 2 very good offenses, cannot be overstated enough. I mean, overall, this entire defense, I was happy with the entire defense. There wasn't too many players when watching this game. I was like, wow, what a bad play by this player, or that player needs to do better. Like throughout the entire game, I was like, wow, this defense is the real deal. We saw it week one. Are we going to see it again here on a short turnaround, short week 2 against a different type of offense, a mobile quarterback? And yeah, we definitely did. And we saw the same style of defense where players were swarming to the ball carrier. Every time someone had the football or caught the football, ran the ball, you saw 4, 5, 6 white jerseys just swarm the defender. And another thing to point out, what the Packers are doing a wonderful job at, is when one player is tackling someone, everyone else comes up and tries punching that ball out. You can clearly tell that that's been a big teaching point this entire offseason. Even if you're not in on the full tackle, get up there and try to punch that ball out. We will see fumbles created from this. It seems like every player has that hammered into their brain that every time attack the football, punch that thing out, try to rip it out regardless. If you're 5 yards away, come up and try to punch that thing out. And I've really liked the mentality of this defense and what Jeff Hafley is coaching. It's just been a joy to watch and a breath of fresh air for the Green Bay Packers defense. The Green Bay Packers just had 2 huge victories against 2 great NFC opponents in the first 2 weeks. And now the NFL season is in full swing. So right now is the perfect time to start finding tickets for a Green Bay Packers game. And that's why I want to give a massive shout out to today's video sponsor, SeatGeek. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and even more. With the NFL season now in full swing, that means tons of future football games, and more importantly, Packers games to potentially go to. Nothing is better than seeing the Green Bay Packers live in action. Right now, you can find amazing ticket deals on any of the upcoming Green Bay Packers regular season games. And if you want to find great deals on Packers tickets, SeatGeek has you covered. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 through 10, 1 being bad, 10 being amazing. Look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use code Basaraski10 to get 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any set of tickets with promo code Basaraski10. Make sure to go click the link in the description and download the app, and you'll automatically have that code added to use later. Again, a big thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. Now moving over to the Packers offense, they continue to be efficient. Now, this game, they started without 2 starting offensive linemen, Zach Tom out of this game, Aaron Banks out of this game, and I mentioned in my game preview and on Roundtable, I still wasn't worried about this offensive line because it's a solid unit. They have a ton of depth. They plugged Jordan Morgan in at left guard, who in his own right could definitely be a starter on most offensive lines around the league. They actually started with Anthony Belton at right tackle, which was a little bit of a surprise to me. He played the majority of snaps at right tackle. I think the second drive they brought in Darian Kennard, and he played a little bit more after that as well. I thought they'd just go with Kennard, but that shows a lot of trust in a rookie out of the second round, Anthony Belton, who kind of struggled in the preseason. I like the Packers doing that. Now, he did have a holding call in that Jayden Reed potential touchdown that ended in his broken collarbone, which we'll talk about. I don't really think it was a holding or it wasn't that egregious, but they called it on him, and that's a rookie. It's a rookie tackle playing his first NFL game in regular season. But overall, I think it was a super solid day for Belton at right tackle. He didn't allow a single pressure. The Packers' passing offense looked in sync most of the night. Jordan Love finished 19 of 31. Like to see a little bit more efficiency there, but overall, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, got sacked twice, both of which just held the ball too long, and had a quarterback rating of 113.9. In terms of the receiving options, this was a legacy game, of course, for Tucker Kraft, who just went off for 6 catches, 124 yards, had that long of 57 where the Packers came out in a heavy formation, motioned Savion Williams, had a switch release by both tight ends, crosser and then a wheel by Kraft, and he got wide open behind those linebackers. Just an excellent play design, and Kraft was on fire all day. He's actually second in the NFL in terms of tight ends for receiving yards, right below rookie Tyler Warden, who's having a great start to the season. There's no doubt in my mind that Tucker Kraft's going to finish top 5, maybe even top 3 of all tight ends in the NFL. The second leading receiver is Dontavian Wicks, 4 for 44 in this game. He was utilized heavy early in this game. In the first drive, I think he had 2 to 3 catches, ended with those 4 catches for 44 yards. And what I noticed about this Packers offense in this week 2, tons of motion and a lot of misdirection. And I thought that going into this game, the Packers are going to be using a lot of misdirection, some of that motion, just to get the Commanders defense maybe a half a step behind. And Matt LaFleur does an excellent job at this when he's game planning for like over aggressive defenses like the Washington Commanders. So I really liked seeing that in the game plan, a ton of cheat motions, tons of, backfield motions, setting up into different runs and orbit motions, all of that, all of what you expect from Matt LaFleur. We saw that in this game, and it definitely opened up a lot. Malik Heath had a catch for 37 yards, an absolutely ridiculous catch on the sideline. Shout out Heath. It seems like every time he gets on the field, he just somehow makes a play. Just a terrific catch by him. Musgrave had 2 catches for 32 yards. He had that one deep catch, 23 yards. It was a deep out route, ran kind of a post out, really beat the safety pretty well there. Romeo Doubs, 3 catches for 28 yards and a touchdown. The Packers ran that quick slant to him on the goal line. Doubs has consistently been showing up for Jordan Love in times of need, like on the goal line or a crucial third down. Chris Brooks, 3 for 27. And then Matthew Golden, 0 receptions, 0 yards, but did run the ball twice for 15 yards. And a lot of people are looking at Matthew Golden and like, wow, he hasn't done much in 2 weeks. But here's the thing, like, he's been on the field and he's been consistently beating defenders. Like, he's getting open. We even saw it in this game. We saw 2 deep passes where Matthew Golden was open. It's just right now, him and Jordan Love just slightly off the mark. This is going to happen with a new wide receiver. As they're still getting used to, or Jordan Love's getting used to Matthew Golden's immense amount of speed. And you saw that on that second deep throw where Golden was behind 3 defenders. Like, he burned all of them. And we're talking about a massive long touchdown there. And it's just a hair too far. They're going to get it down. We saw that early in Romeo Doubs' career, Christian Watson's career. It's going to get hammered out. And I like that he's still, on the field. They're giving him these chances. Love's definitely got to hone in on connecting with Matthew Golden, but it's going to come, right? A lot of people, like I said, pointing at, Matthew Golden not having many receptions, yards through the first 2 weeks. Don't worry, it's coming, especially with Jayden Reed now being out for the next, 6 to 8 weeks. We're going to see even more Matthew Golden in these games, and he's going to get his targets. He's going to get his receptions, and we're going to see these big plays start to come true. As for the Packers' run game, kind of a slow running day yet again, but not terrible. Like, I'm not worried about this Packers run game at all. As a team, they still ran 30 times for 135 yards, 4.5 average and a touchdown. Like, overall, that's a good running day, and they ran the ball a lot, and I like that. I like the Packers being a run-heavy team. It's just Josh Jacobs, 23 carries, 84 yards, a lower average, 3.7 average. The Commanders have a decent front seven. I still thought the Packers would get the better of them, even with 2 linemen out. And I think, it's going to get cleaned up. There's just a couple things to hash out. But overall, I like the Packers sticking with it. I'm not worried about this run game at all. I think we're going to, in the next few weeks, we're going to see a game where Josh Jacobs has like 140 yards, whether that's against the Browns, Cowboys, or after the bye week. Like, we're going to see that is definitely coming. Then Savion Williams, 2 carries, 24 yards. I did not expect the Packers to utilize him this early in 2025, especially not practicing much this offseason, but it's very clear that Matt LaFleur wants Savion Williams to be utilized in this offense and just give a couple wrinkles against the defense, whether that's Savion Williams out of the backfield taking a handoff, which he had in this game, or Savion Williams running a wildcat play where he gets a direct snap and kind of does a fake reverse to Jordan Love and runs up the sideline. Given he did slip, but it was after a big gain. The Packers are setting that up to where Savion's going to give it to Jordan Love, and it's going to be a double pass, and hopefully Matthew Golden wide open deep down the field. You heard it here first. Come back to this point when that does happen later in the season, because I fully believe it will. Really like the Packers involving Savion Williams early in the season. Matthew Golden, like I mentioned, got 2 carries for 15 yards. I think both were jet sweeps. They're also involving him in the run game. And then Jordan Love, 3 carries, 12 yards. Absolutely set the tone on that 1 third down run, lowered his shoulder and just trucked Trey Amos, which is just great. Like, Jordan Love setting that tone, like, I feel like it just set the tone for the entire game, that the Packers, like, hey, we're going to be more physical than you. We're going to punch you in the mouth, and we're going to win this damn football game. Now, as for the special teams for the Green Bay Packers, we saw McManus miss a kick, unfortunately, in this game, a 48-yard miss that hit the upright, but he came right back after that, hitting a short one, and then hitting one deep from 56 yards. So McManus still kicking rather efficient for this Packers special teams. Thought it was also another great special teams day for Nick Nyman, who the Packers added as that core special team player. So really liked seeing him fly around. I think that was a great addition. Then to wrap this thing up in terms of injuries, I think there's only one injury in this game, and it was Jayden Reed, who did break his collarbone. That has been confirmed over the weekend. He'll be back, and he even tweeted as such, like, hey, I'll be back, and it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks. So, the Packers are now without Christian Watson and Reed for probably around the same time as when they'll both return. But I'm not worried about it. I saw a couple of people saying, the Packers need to go and trade for a wide receiver. How they use wide receivers and move them around so much, I'm not worried about them. Like, I'm worried about Jayden Reed. Of course, like, what he does add to this offense is great, but like, the Packers are going to survive without him. They're going to move Wicks and Golden, even Savion Williams around, and Dobbs, Golden, Wicks can all play in the slot. The Packers run a lot of 12 personnel, so only 2 receivers out on the field at a time in that. So they're going to run more 12 personnel with Kraft and Musgrave on the field at the same time. They have Malik Heath, who can clearly make plays when on the field. They're going to want to incorporate more Savion Williams, Matthew Golden. So I'm not worried. Of course, the Packers offense is better when Reed's out there, but I'm not worried. I don't think this offense really misses a beat too much without Jayden Reed. But, it'll be a nice addition later in the season, midway through the season, when we get back both Jayden Reed and Christian Watson. Like, man, the fact that the Packers offense is still, in my opinion, going to be good without those two, and then you add those two in the mix, sky's the limit. But those are all my takeaways from week 2, Packers versus Commanders. An impressive victory. The score didn't show how much of a domination this was, 27-18. Again, another late garbage time touchdown by the opposing team. It was really, 27-10 if we're being completely honest. And this Packers offense and defense just continues to roll. This team as a whole right now, I think, is the best team in the NFC through the first 2 weeks of the 2025 season. Next week, we head to Cleveland to take on the Browns and might be without Zach Tom against Myles Garrett, which is definitely a concern and something they're going to have to heavily game plan for. But I think Matt LaFleur will have an answer for that as well. Then after that, heading to Dallas, Sunday Night Football, the return of Micah Parsons, where he'll probably at that point start seeing 80+% of snaps. At least in that game, he surely will. But I'm going to go over all the PFF grades right after this video, so be on the lookout for that video as well. I really appreciate you guys coming in, albeit, a few days late from this game on Thursday night. Really appreciate you still sticking by and coming by to the channel and, watching the video for sure. But I'll catch you in the next one, and as always, go Pack Go.